Good evening, everyone. So tonight we saw the corporate media call the California or the United States primary for the Democratic Party, as I'm now calling them, the undemocratic party, for Hillary Clinton before the convention, before she has enough pledged delegates to be nominated, and before any so-called superdelegates have cast their vote. The corporate media that makes over $1 billion every national election from dirty campaign ads, that makes money between every broadcast of the latest air disaster and the latest celebrity scandal, selling ads to the military-industrial complex that profits off world wars continuing around the world and arms being sold, profits off the United States being the world's leader in selling arms that find their way around the world in the hands of people killing each other, killing their neighbors, dropping bombs on each other. They make money off of selling overpriced drugs to us to help us deal with the diseases that we get from buying the food they sell commercials to sell us that poison our bodies and give us diabetes and high blood pressure, with all the salt and sugar they pack into everything, that because they know how addicting they are. And sugar, as studies have found, is over 8 times more addicting than cocaine, and very, very hazardous to the human body. They make money off of all these corporations which seem to not care about any of our families or communities, but only care about their corporate shareholder earnings and massive CEO pay and projected earnings. And they don't care about who they take money from. They just want to keep doing what they're doing and keep their high-paid jobs and their access to people in power. And they call themselves the news, but they don't tell us what's going on in Brussels with the strikes, the labor strikes there, where people are standing up and fighting back for dignified wages, or in France where they're doing the same. They don't tell us what's going on in the entire continent of Africa. We never hear anything about the wars going on there and the massive famine and suffering because of climate change. We hardly ever hear about climate change going on around the world, from all of the pollution that our factories spew into the air as they produce oil and try and sell us things. And they just want to make money, and that's what our elections are about. So tonight, the corporate media called the election, the primary election of 2016, for Hillary Clinton, based on their projections of so-called superdelegates casting votes for the status quo candidate Hillary Clinton, who is the logical choice for a superdelegate. A superdelegate is a establishment politician, a mayor, a city councilman, a ex-governor, a party leader. They're the party apparatchiks. In Russia, they would be like the committee members, the Politburo members, and their family. In the 30s and 40s, they were the people in the back rooms with the fat cats with the big cigars and the industrialists deciding who's going to be our next president. And so that's who these people are. They want to keep their jobs, and somebody who thinks that what's going on today is unjust, there's too much injustice, too much human suffering, too much pain, too many people working for too little, working too hard, not getting anywhere, Americans in massive debt, people dying, 45,000, according to studies, 45,000 people every year dying because they don't have health insurance. Unlike every other Western country in the world that has health insurance as a human right, you know, they think it's perfectly fine that someday, eventually, maybe we will get around to insuring those people. But until now, if 40, 50,000 Americans die every year because they grew up in poor families or they fell into hard times, that's, that's just the way things are. I guess, people always suffer and die, and that'll never change. It's okay with them. But the main thing is they want to, they have these nice jobs. They have pensions. Most Americans don't. They have benefits and that from their jobs. They often work for these same corporations who advertise on the media that I just mentioned. And then they make appearances on these corporate media shows. And they think everything's really not so bad because typically these superdelegates are making in the high six figures. Their kids go to private schools. They live in gated communities. They drive, have their problems is that maybe their Tesla isn't working that day. That's their level of problems. And when somebody comes along and says, things are really bad for too many people are suffering out there in our communities, in communities of color, in Native American reservations, too much pain and suffering is going on, and people are not having any real opportunity to just live life, be with their families, their loved ones, to explore their passions, to start new businesses, to travel around the country, to travel around the world. People can't do that because we're stuck in this wage stagnation that's been enforced by something called globalization and corporate greed. And they're like, well, at least unemployment's 4.5%. What are you talking about? Yes, you can work any job you want so long as it's a minimum wage job, a mixed job, a Jamba Juice job, serving them coffee, or Uber driving them around until Uber gets around to turning all the cars into robot-driven cars, that is. So it doesn't really seem so bad to them. So they want somebody like Hillary Clinton who, is going to maintain the campaign finance system that we have now. So only people who are connected to the upper 10%, the wealthy people, will be able to run for office, and nobody will be able to change anything because they'll all take money from the very wealthy, very well-connected who want everything to stay the same. Just like the Republicans at the top, they want everything to stay the same because the people who pay for their candidates and their politicians, just like the people who pay for the so-called Democratic Party candidates, they're on the right end of the stick of income inequality. They're doing really well. Why would they want change? Why would they want to change income inequality? They may talk the talk, just like Hillary, sees which way the wind's blowing in the election and triangulates and says, I'm for $12. $15 is too much. No, that's $15 an hour is way too much. Let's not be crazy. So they want somebody who's going to not change the system so that you and I can afford to run for office, or your neighbor who has a good idea, wants to serve the country, wants to serve the community, but he may not be able to dial for dollars and call up the owner of the biggest car dealer or the bank down the street and say, hey, can I have $10,000? Can I have $100,000? Can you support one of my 3 or 4 campaign PAC? No, we can't do that. We don't know rich people. We know the guy working at the car mechanic place maybe, and they can chip in $20 to our campaign. So we need public financing to keep people coming into our system with new ideas, who understand what it's like to live in a system that is not working because the laws have been written by the big corporations and the rich people and the donors, and So we need those people, you know, who live and work and go to college and teach college and understand what it's like to pay college debt and to pay credit card debt, to go into public service and serve our nation. And so Bernie Sanders is trying to do that, and that's the biggest threat to these so-called superdelegates, because if we can run for office, they could lose their job. But if you have to be rich to run against them, and if they're election, well, then there's not a lot of rich people in this country who can do that, and they know that. That's why they want to. That's why over 400 of these so-called superdelegates announced they're voting for Hillary Clinton before Bernie Sanders even got in the race. So the principle of democracy is one person, one vote. That's sacrosanct. At least it should be. One person, one vote. Demos means of the people. Doesn't mean of the corporations. Doesn't say we, the corporations, at the top of the Declaration of Independence. Doesn't say we, the rich family aristocrats. We, the committee members, the past elected high mucky mucks. No, it's we, the people. And so some say tonight we've lost our democracy. And our system, our institutions of democracy have failed us and let us down, and they've rigged the system. And others, like I just saw on TV, of these corporate talking head, you know, political pundit professionals, say that it can't be a rigged system if you knew the rules going into it. And really, that's what the gentleman just said, just like half an hour ago. That makes no sense. If it's a rigged system, but it's the only system there is, and you say, I'm going to go into it just so I can get my ideas out there and I can try to break through the rigging. I could try to excite people about democracy, get people involved, and maybe there will be we'll reach a tipping point of democracy, and people will vote, and they'll rally, and they'll run for office, and we'll tip this over into real, you know, people-powered democracy, and change it so that people can run and win and help each other. That's not. That doesn't mean the system isn't rigged. It means you recognize it's hard and it's rigged and it's broken, but you're going to, you know, to hell with that. You're going to run anyway. And you're going to try and speak the truth to as many people as you can. That's courage. But the system most definitely was rigged. It's rigged with these superdelegates who get 15% of all the votes in the convention. Doesn't matter, you know, your vote, my vote. When we go out and vote, the few of us who do vote in primaries, we get one vote. They get like 10,000 votes for every superdelegate. You know, that's not democracy. That's some kind of, you know, dare I say it, oligarchy control by the wealthy, plutocracy. It's not democracy. It's not good. It's not going to keep these young people that I see every day who are excited about voting for the first time, and people, you know, not so young who are excited about voting again, coming back and participating and being citizens. No, they're going to go back to being desperate. And you think we're going to vote for Hillary Clinton because Donald Trump is a buffoon and pompous, arrogant billionaire, monopoly game caricature who could send us into war or devastate us through the Supreme Court appointments? Yeah, there are people who really believe that we're suffering and we're dying out here. The working class, working families of this country are suffering and literally dying from poverty. Poverty kills. And so we'll die a little faster with the oligarch, plutocrat, billionaire buffoon in office than we would with the corrupt, mostly dishonest, disingenuous, if not dishonest, centered politician who sees, you know, big money as the solution to everything. Why wouldn't she? It's gotten her everything. She's surrounded by millionaires and billionaires for the latter part of her life. She's been surrounded by nothing but people like Donald Trump, you know, and we've all seen the pictures of them celebrating at one of his weddings together. You know, that's so where people see us as dying a little bit slower with Donald Trump than we would, suffering a little bit more with Donald Trump than we would under Hillary Clinton, but still suffering, still being taken advantage of, still being ignored, having our suffering ignored, as our credit cards charge 20, 30, 40% interest, and school loans the same, you know, charge 10% interest, and we have to pay them off over 20 years or 30 years, as our kids can't afford to go to college anymore. And if worrying about our car breaking down and or being laid off, and being one of those people we see standing on the sidewalk with a sign saying, "We'll work for food," you know, or under the freeway living in a tent with an American flag. And that's, most of us, we're just one layoff away from that. We're just one, and we know it. We all drive by. I heard, you know, Leo Laporte, he's this great guy on the radio, talks about computers, talking about how, you know, he drives by McDonald's on the way to his radio studio. And he thinks, kind of, you know, work hard, Leo, because, you know, there for the grace of God go I. If things go wrong, I could be back working at McDonald's again. Now, I worked at McDonald's, a lot of us did, and it's a hard job standing on your feet in a greasy kitchen all day. You know, millions of people do it, and they're not paid enough to live and survive. But when, you know, super intelligent, skilled people like this radio announcer, you know, Leo Laporte, has to fear being, you know, put back into economic, basically slavery of being a corporate day laborer in fast food, we know something's really wrong in this economy. And so a lot of people are saying, well, those Bernie people, they're gonna go, and just like Hillary, you know, Hillary people voted for Obama in 2008, even though they said they wouldn't. The Bernie people will do the same thing. It's apples and oranges. The difference between Hillary and Obama wasn't really that great. It wasn't saying that, you know, that Obama represented the status quo, didn't represent the status quo corporatocracy, the status quo that is seeing, you know, making billions off of our planet being ravaged and through climate change. The status quo that is seeing millions of people in jail suffering in inhumane, barbaric conditions because they're black skin, have black skin or brown skin or Native Americans. The status quo that sees us suffering in income inequality and job stagnation, and the people who have just been forgotten, who dropped out of the workforce and discarded from globalization and machines, machination, not retrained, not offered help. That's what Hillary Clinton represents, is, you know, everything's okay, we'll just try to make things a little better. Status quo. And that's not how people saw Barack Obama. He was a change candidate. He was going to go into D.C. and change things. Yes, we can. It's going to change the way we do everything. Yes, we can together. And that's why people came together from Hillary. Hillary is not that. She is not Barack Obama. And the Bernie or bust people and people who are just going to drop out and not vote at all in the next election recognize that Hillary is not Barack Obama. You know, Hillary represents the reason why they are coming back into the process to vote in the first place, to knock doors, you know, to volunteer, to donate, to have hope. Yeah, is because we need to change what the Clintons are all about. This idea that, you know, our party serves the professional class and the rest of us, the working class, well, you know, if we work harder one day, we'll be one of them. So, no, I don't think a lot of Bernie or bust people or Bernie Sanders young people are going to, and even people like me are going to vote for Hillary. I'm not going to vote for Hillary. I can't in good conscience. I know Donald Trump's a buffoon and dangerous person. But yeah, I'm going to die a little bit faster, and others will under Trump, a little bit slower under Hillary, but I'm not going to die with a bad conscience that I voted for somebody who believes in fracking, who believes that she can take money from Wall Street and the people who harm millions and defrauded millions of people and keep her speeches a secret and saying it's none of your business. Go away, be quiet. You know, I'm not going to die with voting for Hillary Clinton on my conscience, because I don't believe she's really got our best interest at heart, and I don't believe she's going to break up the big banks and let the people vote and run for office and create public financing and do the things we really need to create justice in this country again. And so, yeah, California is really blue, and it's going to go for Hillary no matter what I do. If she's the nominee, she looks like she will be. It's going to go to, whether if I vote for anybody, Jill Stein or anybody, California delegates will all be assigned to Hillary. It's not a swing state here in California. But I got to vote. I got to be true to me, and I got to vote for somebody who is going to stand up for the people, the vulnerable, the voiceless. And so if that's not Bernie, it's going to be Jill Stein. You do what you think is best for you. If you're in a swing state and you think you're going to vote defensively and vote for somebody that you don't think is going to really fight to change the system to help working families of America, or you might think Hillary is going to do everything she's promised, and you believe her and believe her word, then go with God, my friend, and vote for her, and maybe things will work out. I hope it does. But I don't think that we're going to be saved by politicians in any event. I don't think that change is going to come from Washington D.C. down to, it doesn't trickle down. Change and justice never trickles down, just like money doesn't trickle down to us. We have to work in our communities, and that's what I want to finish up saying. I hope that all of us will work in our own communities to help each other, to support each other's independent businesses. Find worker co-ops, food co-ops, and join them and work with them. Find independent businesses of your friends online and retweet them and share them and buy stuff from each other. I'll take your money out of the big banks, for God's sakes. They're just greedy companies that are buying our electoral system and investing in fossil fuels and gun companies. Get your money out of those big banks. They make billions off of charging poor people for NSF fees for checks that bounce. They got no soul. They don't help our communities. Put them into credit unions. They're much better. And buy and ask for fair trade coffee, fair trade everything. For there is no free trade. Free trade, what they want free is our labor free. And it destroys jobs in Mexico and all over the world and destroys our jobs. So that's our struggle locally. Get involved in the Humane Society, SPCA, animal shelters. Get involved with your kids' schools. Get involved with cleaning the beaches, with the Sierra Club. Make a difference. Just talk to people, talk to your neighbors, help them out. If you see somebody who needs help, help them. Do what you can. Change in this country, it starts with every one of us. It's not casting a vote. It's not going to be fixed for us by the president or any Congress. It's we the people. That's also why it says we the people in these huge letters at the top of our founding document. Because it's not we the Congress. It's not me the president. This country is about you and me. We the people. We. And so don't lose heart. Open your heart to change. Open your heart to your neighbors. Open your heart to the possibilities that we can stand for something, we can stand together, we can see change through this generation or the next generation or the next generation after that. There's a lot of really beautiful young people who care deeply about justice and peace and equality and Mother Earth, and we need to work with them, and we can make things work together. It's not just about one primary or one election or one political party. It's about you being one, all of us being one with our true selves, our authentic selves that cares deeply about each other and justice and being peaceful and being part of a community here in this country and a community of people and life on this earth. So have hope, stay positive, help each other, and be true to yourself and vote the way that you believe will make things better, and vote with your dollars and your time and your heart in the way you live your life. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'm Joseph Siegel, josephsiegel.com, and at betterworldadvocates.com, where I create jewelry and a movement for change. Take care.